Edward the Blue Engine was ill. He had been feeling poorly all week, but awoke that morning feeling dreadful. Edward didn't fall ill very often, and the Fat Controller was surprised to hear the news.
"It isn't like Edward to complain,"
he said to Edward's crew.
"If he feels sick, he must really be sick."
"Yes, sir," Edward's driver replied. "But Edward won't speak of resting. He wants to keep working. He says he has too much to do around the station." The Fat Controller laughed.
"I'm not surprised," he smiled. "Edward is one of our most dedicated engines. But I must insist that Edward rest. Boco can do his work."
Edward was disappointed by the news. "Why, sir," Edward complained, "I feel well enough to work here in the yard. All of these trucks need shunting.
I understand your position, Edward, but you cannot recover if you do not rest. The sooner you recover, the sooner you can get back to work."
Edward still felt uneasy, but agreed.
"You don't have to worry, Edward,"
said Boco.
"I'll take care of things while you're resting today."
"I have full faith in you, Boco. I just feel so useless if I'm not helping out." Boco smiled.
"Your words are a testament to your devotion to your work. This is exactly why I'm glad I learned my way about the yard from you."
"Thank you, Boco." Boco could tell that Edward was still not convinced, so he began making a plan. He told his driver, who agreed. "We'll do it later," he said, and made all the arrangements. That afternoon, it was time for Boco to take the China clay wagons to the quayside to be unloaded onto the ships. He purposely added a few extra trucks to the train to give the impression that it was harder for him to pull them alone.
"It looks like you may be needed after all," said Boco to Edward. "I can't pull all of these wagons by myself."
Edward looked at the train. "That is quite long, Boco. What would you like me to do?"
"How about you be my pilot? That way I'll do most of the work and you can help me where I most need it."
Edward pondered for a moment and agreed. "It will be good to get out of the yard." The two engines coupled up to the long train and set out for the harbor. Boco could easily have handled the trucks by himself, but allowed Edward to take some of the slack. They were going along well at first, but then Boco began to notice that Edward was pulling harder, then harder still. Soon Boco wasn't bearing any of the weight at all. The entire train and Boco were being pulled by Edward alone.
How is he doing this?
Boco thought to himself. All he could do was go along for the ride, mesmerized by Edward's strength despite his illness. Soon the two reached the harbor, and Boco could tell that Edward was exhausted. "I know what you were trying to do," chuckled Edward, "and I appreciate it."
"I wanted simply to get you out of the yard, but you still took the full weight of the train and me. Why did you?"
"Because, my dear friend, my rest cure is hard work. It always has been." Boco took Edward back to the yards and dropped him off in the same siding he had been in before.
"I won't tell the Fat Controller about your little trip," assured Boco.
"Thank you, Boco, and thank you for helping me on the road to recovery." Boco gave a toot on his horn and left to finish his work. The Fat Controller visited Edward the next morning.
"So, Edward, did you rest well yesterday?"
Edward and his crew smiled to each other. "Yes, sir, and today I feel better than ever."